You don't need more motivation, you need silence. Because in a world that's constantly trying to distract you, your ability to focus has become your greatest weapon. Every ad, every scroll, every useless opinion is fighting for your mind, and most people lose that battle before their day even starts. But not you. You're here because something inside you knows that greatness doesn't come from doing more, comes from doing what matters, with brutal consistency and unshakable clarity. This audiobook isn't about hype, it's about discipline. It's about rewiring your attention, starving your distractions, and sharpening your mind into a blade so precise that nothing, no failure, no noise, no person can break you. If you're tired of drifting, tired of starting and stopping, tired of not showing up for yourself, this is the reset you've been searching for. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The noise is your enemy. Noise isn't just sound, it's distraction. It's every unnecessary voice pulling at your attention, every notification dragging your energy, every piece of information that feels urgent but adds nothing to your growth. Noise is the invisible enemy, and the longer you allow it to surround you, the harder it becomes to hear your own thoughts. Most people live in a loop of input, with no direction, scrolling, reacting, consuming. But you weren't made to react, you were made to lead. And leadership begins with silence. The world thrives on keeping you distracted. Every ad, every trend, every irrelevant argument is designed to steal a fraction of your focus. And it works because most people have never learned how to protect their attention. But once you realize that focus is currency and your mind is the vault, you stop spending energy on things that don't pay you back. You begin filtering everything with one question: does this bring me closer to my purpose? If not, it's noise and it has to go. The problem with noise is that it disguises itself as importance. You think you're staying informed, connected, engaged. But deep down, you're just avoiding stillness. Because in stillness, you're forced to face yourself, to deal with the discomfort of silence, the weight of your own thoughts, the reality of your current progress. Most people can't sit in that space. But you must. Because silence is where clarity begins, and clarity is the antidote to noise. Every time you open your phone out of boredom, you weaken your mental discipline. Every time you interrupt your work to check something irrelevant, you reinforce distraction. It doesn't seem like a big deal in the moment. But over time, these micro-habits form the blueprint of your attention span, and that blueprint becomes your default operating system. To break free, you must start treating your focus like survival, because it is. The reason noise is so dangerous is because it feels normal. Everyone's distracted, everyone's reacting, everyone's plugged into chaos. So when you try to disconnect, it feels uncomfortable. You feel out of place. But that's exactly where power is built in: the discomfort of discipline. When you start training your mind to be still, when you remove the noise and reclaim your inner space, you begin to access a version of yourself that most people will never meet. Focus is not a trait you're born with, it's a skill you sharpen. And that sharpening only happens in silence. You can't strengthen your mind while you're drowning in distractions. You can't build clarity if your life is built around notifications. If you want to become unbreakable, you must first become undistracted. That means making hard decisions. Saying no to what feels urgent but isn't important. Choosing boredom over stimulation. Choosing growth over comfort. The people who win in life are not the loudest. They are the most locked in. They're not watching what everyone else is doing, they're building. While others are reacting to the noise, they're creating systems in silence. While the crowd is chasing trends, they're mastering fundamentals. And when the world looks up, they're already 10 steps ahead. Not because they're lucky, but because they chose to focus when everyone else chose noise. Noise weakens your intuition. It drowns out your inner voice. The more you consume from others, the less you trust yourself. That's why cutting the noise is not just a productivity hack, it's a spiritual necessity. You need space to hear your own wisdom. You need stillness to feel your next move. Your best answers won't come from Google, from social media, or from the crowd. They'll come when you're finally quiet enough to listen to yourself. Start treating your environment like a temple. Protect your mornings. Limit your input. Declutter your digital space. If something doesn't bring clarity, confidence, or creativity, it doesn't belong. And don't wait for motivation. Build habits that reinforce silence. Schedule it, create it, defend it. Because in today's world, silence isn't natural, it's earned. You don't need more information. You need fewer distractions. You don't need to do more. You need to do less with more intensity. And that intensity comes when your mind isn't scattered across 100 tabs. Simplicity sharpens the blade. And the sharper your focus, the faster your results. This is the truth most people avoid. Progress isn't about volume, it's about direction. And you can't find direction if you're surrounded by noise. If you want to dominate in life, master your mental environment. That's the battlefield. The enemy isn't outside, it's the chaos you allow inside your own head. Train your mind like a warrior trains for war. Be ruthless with what gets your attention, because in a world full of noise, the most powerful man is the one who can hear his own thoughts. This chapter isn't just theory, it's a challenge. Starting today, remove one source of noise from your life. Replace it with silence, even if it's just 10 minutes. Sit with yourself. Let your mind wander. Let the discomfort rise, and then keep going. Because the moment you learn to sit in silence without reaching for a distraction, that's the moment you begin to take your power back. Chapter 2. Focus is a skill, not a gift. Focus isn't a superpower you're born with. It's a mental discipline you train like a muscle. Most people assume some are just naturally focused, but that belief is the first lie that keeps you weak. The truth is, those who seem dialed in, unshakable, and locked onto their goals simply practiced ignoring everything else. Focus is the result of repetition, intentional routines, and learning how to block out the world long enough to hear yourself think. If focus was a gift, everyone who was born smart would be successful. But look around, talent means nothing without focus. Intelligence fades in the presence of distraction. What separates the top 1% from the rest isn't genius, it's consistency. They do the work when it's boring. They show up when no one claps. And most of all, they keep their mind aimed like a laser. Not scattered, not reactive, trained. You train your focus the same way you train your body, by showing up, pushing limits, and doing the reps. The rep might be writing for an hour without checking your phone. It might be showing up to the gym without excuses. It might be sitting in silence instead of escaping into noise. Every time you choose intention over impulse, you're sharpening your focus. Every time you don't give in to distraction, you're building something rare. The world sells you the lie that multitasking is efficient, but multitasking is just a fancy word for being unfocused. You might feel productive juggling everything, but in reality, you're doing many things badly instead of doing one thing well. Focus requires slowing down, simplifying, and doing less with more intensity. When you focus, the quality of your work explodes and the results speak louder than any hustle ever could. To master focus, you must master friction. Your distractions don't exist by accident. They're engineered to be addictive. That means you need systems, not willpower. Willpower fades, but systems stay. Remove apps, block websites, set timers, Design your environment to eliminate friction between you and your goal. Because if you're constantly relying on motivation, you're already losing the game. Training focus begins the moment you open your eyes. The first hour of your day is the most powerful. If you reach for your phone, you've already trained your brain to crave external stimulation before it's even had time to center. But if you start with silence, with clarity, with a single target, you begin your day on offense, not defense. And when your day starts with intention, it rarely ends in regret. People think lack of focus is laziness, but more often, it's fear. Fear of failure, fear of silence, fear of doing the real work, because the real work might expose you. So instead, they stay busy. They stay distracted. They stay moving, but not progressing. Focus requires courage. The courage to sit with discomfort. The courage to admit what matters and cut everything else away. The courage to face yourself fully. Your focus will never be perfect, but it doesn't have to be. What matters is that you keep returning to it. Every time you notice you've drifted, bring yourself back. That's training. That's mastery. Not never getting distracted, but noticing faster, recovering quicker, and choosing again. That simple act builds mental resilience, and that resilience becomes your competitive advantage in a world full of noise. Your phone is not your enemy, but how you use it might be. If you don't take control of your digital world, it will control you. Every ping, every scroll, every swipe is a tiny cut into your attention span. And death by 1,000 cuts is still death. So choose wisely. Unfollow what doesn't build you. Mute what doesn't sharpen you. Unplug from anything that dilutes your focus, because your mind becomes what you feed it. The reason most people never master focus is because they never define what they're focusing on. You can't hit a target you haven't identified. So ask yourself daily, what matters most today? What will move me forward? What can I eliminate? These aren't just productivity hacks, they're identity builders. When you define your direction, focus becomes a byproduct of clarity. Sometimes, focus feels like obsession. And that's okay. The world will call you intense, distant, or cold, but they don't understand what you're building. They don't see the war you're fighting inside your mind to stay sharp in a world that rewards distraction. Let them talk. You're not here to be understood. You're here to become unstoppable. Even focus has seasons. Some days it will come easy. Other days it will feel like climbing a mountain. But both days matter. The easy days build momentum. The hard days build character. And over time, those two together create discipline. That discipline becomes your rhythm. And when you have rhythm, success becomes inevitable. Focus isn't something you find, it's something you choose, again and again. In the face of noise, in the pull of distraction, in the moment of weakness. Every time you say, "Not now, I have work to do," you're writing the story of your future. And that story is not about being gifted, it's about being committed. Your greatest power isn't talent, charisma, or even confidence. It's focus, pure, uninterrupted, strategic attention on what matters. Everything else is noise. And if you want to win in a distracted world, you must train yourself to choose clarity over chaos, depth over dopamine, and direction over destruction. Chapter 3. Train your mind like a warrior. A warrior doesn't wait for motivation. He trains when he's tired. He sharpens his blade in the dark, and your blade is your mind. If you want to win in life, you need a mind that doesn't break under pressure. A mind that doesn't panic when the plan falls apart. A mind that's been through the storm so many times, it doesn't flinch anymore. This kind of mind isn't inherited, it's forged. Most people train their bodies and forget the battlefield is mental. They lift weights, chase aesthetics, but leave their minds weak, scattered, reactive. But a warrior trains differently. He wakes up every day knowing that the real enemy is internal: the doubt, the fear, the hesitation, the excuses. And so the battle starts before the world even speaks. It starts with mastering the voice inside your head. To train your mind like a warrior, you have to get comfortable with pain. Not just physical pain, but the mental pressure of showing up when no one's watching, staying disciplined when it's boring, and pushing forward when quitting would be easier. You grow by walking straight into resistance, not avoiding it. The more pressure you endure, the more mental calluses you build. That's where strength lives. A warrior doesn't need the world to validate him. He's too busy validating himself through discipline. The likes, the praise, the compliments, they're nice but irrelevant. His self-worth is built on effort, not applause. That's why you'll find him training in silence, grinding while others sleep, sharpening skills that most never even notice. Because true power never announces itself, it proves itself. Warrior training is repetition. You don't train your mind by doing something once. You do it every day, no matter how you feel. Focused journaling, deep work blocks, cold silence, intense workouts, fasting, meditation. These are not trends. These are weapons. They rewire your brain for control, clarity, and discipline. You can't afford to play soft in a world that's training you to be reactive. The warrior mindset means doing what's necessary, even when it's not exciting. You'll be tempted to skip steps, chase shortcuts, and follow trends. Don't. Train your mind to crave consistency, not novelty, because the world rewards those who master boredom. When you can repeat the basics with relentless precision, you become elite. And most people can't compete with that. Mental warriors operate in silence. They don't need to talk about their goals. They just execute. While others post about what they're going to do, the warrior disappears and returns with results. He doesn't need validation. He needs victory. And he knows that victory doesn't come from hype. It comes from hard habits done daily, no matter how uninspired or unnoticed. Train your mind to delay gratification. That's one of the sharpest weapons a warrior can wield. Most people lose the battle because they want everything now: comfort, success, approval. But the warrior holds the line. He waits, he builds. He suffers now to win later. And while others are chasing short-term highs, he's building long-term power that can't be shaken. Fear is a tool for the warrior, not a trap. When fear shows up, he doesn't run. He studies it. He leans in. He asks, "Why is this here, and what is it teaching me?" That mindset transforms fear into fuel. It makes fear a compass instead of a cage. Every time you feel afraid to act, understand, this is your next training ground. Step toward it. Don't flinch. You must train your mind to function under chaos. Life won't always be peaceful. Distractions, betrayal, failure, they're all part of the arena. A weak mind crumbles when plans go wrong. A trained mind adapts. It doesn't panic. It repositions, recalibrates, and keeps moving forward. That level of mental control is not natural. It's earned through facing adversity on purpose. Every morning is a test. Will you rise early or sleep in? Will you reach for your phone or reach for purpose? Will you scroll or study? These moments seem small, but they build your identity. A warrior isn't created in grand battles. He's built in the daily decisions when no one's watching. And those decisions, over time, create a mind that moves different. Train your mind to handle silence. Most people fear silence because it forces them to face their own thoughts. But the warrior seeks it. He sits in silence not to escape the world, but to understand himself. In that quiet, the real training begins. The doubts surface, the lies are exposed, and clarity is forged. That's why the warrior loves solitude. It's the sound of progress. To become mentally strong, you must learn to be uncomfortable on purpose. Cold showers, fasting, silence, early mornings, hard tasks, these aren't punishments, they're preparation. Each one teaches your mind that discomfort is not the enemy. It's the signal that growth is happening. The more you lean into it, the more unshakable you become. A true warrior mindset doesn't just respond to challenge, it hunts it. You look for the hard path, the difficult choice, the thing that scares you, not recklessly, but intentionally. Because you understand that only by stepping into fire do you become fire. You're not here to stay soft. You're here to forge a mind that can withstand anything. Comparison is a trap. A warrior knows this. He doesn't measure his growth against others. He measures it against who he was yesterday. That mindset eliminates distraction and creates momentum. While others are checking feeds, he's checking progress. While others seek approval, he seeks improvement. And that's why he grows faster and stronger, quietly, consistently. Training your mind like a warrior isn't a phase, it's a lifestyle. It doesn't end when you reach a goal. It continues, evolves, and deepens. Because the mind, like the blade, dulls when left unused. So sharpen it daily, challenge it often, and carry it with humility. A warrior doesn't boast, the simply becomes undeniable. Chapter 4. Silence is fuel for focus. Silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It strips away the noise that constantly pulls your mind in 100 directions. In silence, you can finally hear what matters. Your thoughts become sharper, your purpose becomes louder, and distractions lose their power. This is why those who master silence don't just think more clearly, they act with precision. Most people fear silence because it forces them to confront themselves. In the quiet, there's no music, no scrolling, no background noise to drown out your inner chaos. But that discomfort is where the transformation begins. The more you sit with silence, the more you start organizing the storm in your mind. What used to confuse you starts to make sense. Focus and silence are married. One cannot exist fully without the other. If you want to lock in, to go deep into your work, your craft, your mission, you need silence like a warrior needs his weapon. Because silence creates space, and space is where depth is built. Without depth, your focus will always be shallow, reactive, and easily broken. You don't need more productivity hacks. You need silence. True focus isn't about squeezing more into your schedule, it's about eliminating what doesn't belong. It's about muting the world so you can hear your own intuition. The deeper you go into silence, the stronger your inner compass becomes, and that compass will guide you far better than any trend. Every genius, every master, every legend had one thing in common: time spent in silence. From monks in the mountains to inventors in dark labs, breakthroughs never happen in noise. They happen in stillness. Because silence amplifies insight. It allows your mind to connect dots that distraction would have kept apart. Greatness starts with listening inward. Silence is a filter. When you step away from the noise, people's opinions, social media, constant entertainment, you start to realize what's truly yours. Your goals become clearer, your values realign, and your identity strengthens. The world constantly tries to make you forget who you are. Silence reminds you. To be truly focused, you have to detach. That means stepping away from the loud world and building your own quiet space. This could be a room, a morning walk, a late-night hour somewhere that belongs to you and only you. In that space, you train your focus like a muscle. You learn to hear without distraction and think without interruption. Silence isn't laziness, it's strategy. While others chase noise, trying to stay busy, you disappear into stillness and build something that actually matters, because silence allows you to go deeper. And depth, not busyness, is what creates lasting impact. Shallow focus builds nothing. Deep focus changes everything. There is a power in silence that doesn't need to shout. It just walks into a room and changes the energy. Why? Because silence creates presence. A person who can stay quiet in a chaotic world becomes magnetic. Their energy speaks louder than words ever could. And that energy is only cultivated by time spent in intentional silence. You can't fake focus. You either have it or you don't. And the people who have it, the ones who create empires, change lives, and master their craft, are the ones who retreat often. They protect their silence. They don't say yes to everything. They guard their mental space like a vault, because they know silence is their edge. Train yourself to crave silence, not stimulation. When you reach for your phone, your playlists, your background noise, ask yourself, what am I trying to escape? Often, it's the very thoughts you need to face. Sit with them, learn from them, because only when you face the noise within can you finally replace it with peace. Silence teaches you patience. In a world addicted to speed, those who can slow down and think win the long game. Silence forces you to breathe, to pause, to reflect before you act. And that reflection turns impulsive decisions into wise ones. It sharpens your responses and gives you space to choose power over reaction. Make silence a daily ritual, not once a week, not when you're overwhelmed, every single day. 10 minutes, 20, maybe more. Start small. Disconnect. Close your eyes. Breathe. Let your thoughts come and go, without judgment. Over time, you'll feel your focus sharpening like a blade. You'll begin to crave that calm edge. Focus is fragile. It's constantly under attack by the world's noise. That's why silence isn't optional, it's essential. Without it, you're constantly reacting, constantly distracted, constantly pulled. But when you build a habit of silence, you become the one who pulls. You move with purpose instead of being moved by chaos. People will question your silence. They'll say you're distant, antisocial, too quiet. Let them. They don't understand that silence is your training ground. While they're chasing noise, you're chasing mastery. And when you emerge, they'll wonder how you became so clear, so focused, so powerful. The answer will be simple: silence. The world rewards those who speak loudly, but it remembers those who act silently. The loudest in the room are often the most insecure, but the quiet ones, the focused ones, they're the ones changing everything. Because they're not wasting energy on noise, they're channeling it into something greater. If you ever feel overwhelmed, lost, unfocused, return to silence. It's the reset button for your mind. It's the place where clarity returns, where purpose becomes sharp again. Don't wait for silence to find you. Go find it, and in it find yourself again. Let silence be your sanctuary. Let it be the space where you train your focus, sharpen your discipline, and realign with your vision. In a world full of noise, become the one who moves in stillness and watch how everything begins to fall into place. Chapter 5. Discipline is the backbone of focus. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. When your actions align with your vision, that's discipline. It's what keeps you moving when motivation disappears. Because motivation is fleeting, but discipline is a decision you renew daily. Every time you say no to distraction, every time you show up when it's hard, you're strengthening your core. Focus without discipline is like a sword without a handle, sharp but impossible to wield. You may have clarity about your goals, but without discipline, you'll never stay locked in long enough to execute them. Discipline is what gives your focus structure. It's what builds routines that make greatness sustainable, not accidental. Most people break not because they lack talent, but because they lack discipline. They start strong but crumble at the first sign of resistance. But the disciplined mind doesn't panic. It adapts. It recalibrates. And it continues. Discipline doesn't eliminate difficulty. It empowers you to move through it with consistency and control. There's nothing glamorous about discipline. It's boring. It's repetitive. It's waking up early when you don't want to. It's turning down the easy path again and again. But over time, those boring reps build something beautiful. They create a foundation of strength that noise can't shake and setbacks can't destroy. Every master you admire, every author, athlete, entrepreneur, wasn't just focused. They were disciplined. They had a system. They didn't wait to feel like it. They trained themselves to act whether or not the feeling was there. That's what separates dreamers from doers. Discipline applied in silence over time. Discipline doesn't ask for your mood, it demands your commitment. Your emotions will change, your energy will fluctuate, but discipline shows up regardless. It's the voice that says, "Do it anyway," when everything in you wants to quit. And every time you obey that voice, you build a stronger version of yourself. The battle for focus is lost in the small moments. The moment you decide to check your phone instead of working. The moment you say, "I'll do it later." The moment you break your own word. But discipline catches those moments and calls them out. It holds you accountable to who you said you wanted to become. Discipline makes your vision non-negotiable. It turns goals into obligations. You no longer work based on how you feel. You work based on what you've decided matters. And in doing so, you remove choice from distraction. You don't debate whether or not to show up. You've already decided that you're all in. Freedom doesn't come from avoiding rules. It comes from mastering them. People think discipline traps them, but the truth is it frees you. When your life has order, your mind has peace. When your days are structured, your creativity thrives. Chaos isn't freedom. Focus built on discipline is. If you want to become unbreakable, you can't let your comfort win. You have to train your body and mind to move toward discomfort. Discipline is forged in the fire of resistance. And every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you increase your tolerance for pressure and sharpen your focus. There's no shortcut to excellence. There's no hack to bypass discipline. You'll see people rise fast, but without discipline, they fall just as fast. What lasts is what's built through consistent, focused, disciplined effort day by day, without applause, without needing recognition. Discipline is what wakes you up when no one's watching. It's what pushes you to go one more rep, one more draft, one more hour, because you know the work matters. It's not sexy. It's not dramatic. But it builds a legacy brick by brick, and those bricks form the path to a life no one can take from you. When your discipline becomes automatic, you become unstoppable. You don't have to think about it anymore. It's who you are. You don't need willpower because your habits carry you. That's the beauty of discipline. It eventually removes resistance because it becomes your default mode. Train your discipline like a muscle. Start with small promises and keep them. Wake up at the time you said. Finish the task you started. Say no to one distraction. Every kept promise strengthens your internal grip. And that grip is what lets you hold on to your focus when the world tries to tear it away. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your discipline. That's the hard truth. Your potential means nothing if your habits can't support it. Discipline is the infrastructure. Without it, your dreams collapse under the weight of inconsistency and impulse. If you want clarity, practice discipline. Clarity doesn't come from overthinking. It comes from doing, from showing up again and again. Every disciplined act strips away the noise and reveals what really matters. You don't need to think your way to clarity. You need to act your way into it. The greatest battles happen inside. The battle to snooze or rise, to scroll or study, to gossip or grow. Discipline is what wins those wars quietly. And every silent victory creates a ripple that shapes who you're becoming. One small decision at a time. One moment of focus over comfort. No one becomes a legend by accident. It's deliberate. And discipline is the engine. Focus will get you started, but discipline keeps you going when the high fades. When life gets messy, when no one is cheering, that's when you find out who's serious. And that's when discipline separates the committed from the casual. Stop negotiating with your weakness. Don't ask, should I? Ask, what would the disciplined version of me do right now? Then do that. Over time, you'll realize that every moment of weakness was just a test, and discipline was the weapon waiting for you to use it. If you want results, stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline. Build it brick by brick, hour by hour, decision by decision. Until one day, you wake up and realize you've become a force nothing can distract, delay, or defeat, because you've trained your mind to serve your mission, and nothing stands in the way of someone like that. Discipline is your personal compass when the world pulls you in every direction. When you feel lost, undisciplined people spiral, but the disciplined return to their structure. They don't wait for clarity to appear out of nowhere. They create it by sticking to their system, no matter what emotions are present. That's power. Every time you do the hard thing first, you rewire your identity. You shift from being someone who delays to someone who dominates. It starts small, answering that email, doing that workout, finishing that script. But each act is a vote for the person you're becoming. Discipline isn't just what you do, it's who you are becoming. Discipline also teaches emotional control. The ability to stay calm under pressure doesn't come from suppressing emotions. It comes from consistent practice under stressful conditions. A disciplined mind knows when to react, when to pause, and when to execute without hesitation. It doesn't swing with mood, it leads with intention. People often confuse burnout with discipline, but true discipline includes recovery. It knows when to push and when to rest. It's strategic, not reckless. You don't burn out from working hard, you burn out from working mindlessly. Discipline means building smart systems, not glorifying exhaustion. The deeper your discipline, the fewer decisions you need to make. You save energy by reducing chaos. Your mind becomes a focused laser instead of a flickering flashlight. When you automate your actions through discipline, you free your mind for creativity and purpose. Clarity thrives in the space discipline creates. Don't wait to feel ready. You'll never be fully ready. Start while you're uncertain. Train while you're unsure. Show up while it's still uncomfortable. That's how discipline is born. It's forged in the friction between who you are and who you want to be. And each disciplined act pulls those two versions closer together. There's a reason elite performers obsess over routines. It removes decision fatigue. Their mornings, their workflows, their recovery, it's all planned. Why? Because discipline protects their focus. You can't afford to waste mental energy on small choices when your mission demands all of you. The world rewards consistency, not talent, not intention, consistency. And consistency is the child of discipline. You want results? Be boring. Be relentless. Be the one who shows up long after others have lost interest, because those who are most consistent end up the most successful. Don't let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. You'll feel tired, frustrated, unmotivated. But discipline isn't there to make you feel good. It's there to keep you grounded when your emotions are all over the place. A disciplined mind leads the body, not the other way around. Build triggers for discipline. Anchor your habits. Set up reminders. Prepare your environment. Discipline becomes easier when your surroundings align with your purpose. It's not just about willpower, it's about architecture. Design a life that makes your discipline the default, not the exception. Comparison kills discipline. When you start watching everyone else's journey, you lose sight of your lane. Discipline says, eyes forward. It focuses on execution, not external noise. You don't have time to chase trends when you're chasing transformation. Let others post. You build. The difference between amateurs and professionals? Discipline under pressure. Amateurs quit when it's hard. Professionals execute regardless. They may not feel perfect every day, but they keep showing up. They trust the process more than their emotions. That's why they rise. Discipline isn't loud. It's not flexed on social media. It's not a vibe. It's quiet. It's internal. It's built in the moments no one sees: the cold mornings, the lonely nights, the quiet sacrifices. You don't need applause. You need purpose. Let your work speak louder than your words. There will be moments where no one believes in you, where your results lag behind your effort. That's where most people quit. But discipline doesn't need proof, it needs direction. You keep moving forward not because you see success yet, but because you've already decided it's inevitable. Comfort whispers seductive lies. It says, you've done enough when you've barely started. It says, take it easy when you need to push harder. Discipline silences that voice. It replaces it with a new warrior's voice. The voice that says, not yet, we keep going. Make discipline a part of your identity. Don't just say, I want to be disciplined. Say, I am disciplined. Affirm it in your actions. Prove it in your follow-through. You don't become disciplined by talking about it. You become disciplined by showing up when it's inconvenient. Progress is not always obvious. Some days you'll feel like nothing's working, but discipline is doing it anyway, because deep down you know nothing is wasted. Every rep, every word, every step is adding to something bigger. Trust the invisible work. That's how foundations are built. When you feel weak, return to your standards. What did you promise yourself? What do you stand for? Discipline is rooted in your values. It's not about hype. It's about honoring your word even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. Greatness is a daily decision, not a one-time event. Every day you choose. Do I move toward my goals or drift from them? Discipline is the force that makes that choice automatic. It's the internal compass that says, we go forward, no matter how we feel. In a world full of distractions, the disciplined stand out, not because they shout, but because they move differently. Their attention is sacred, their time is guarded. Their energy is invested, not wasted. They don't follow the noise, they follow the mission, and that's why they win. Chapter 6. Cut off what distracts you. Distraction is the silent killer of dreams. It doesn't show up with warning signs, it sneaks in dressed as entertainment, comfort, and false urgency. You sit down to build something great, but a message pings, a feed scrolls, and suddenly your momentum dies. To become focused, you must be ruthless about cutting the noise. Not everything that asks for your attention deserves it. Most distractions aren't evil, they're just irrelevant. They steal minutes, not all at once, but in tiny slivers until you realize you've lost hours. The strongest minds are not the ones who can do more, but the ones who say no to almost everything. Start with your environment. If your phone is your biggest thief, silence it. If your room invites chaos, clean it. Build spaces that honor your focus. You don't rise above distraction through willpower alone, you win by designing your world to support the version of you that's locked in and untouchable. People can be distractions too. That doesn't mean you cut everyone off, but it does mean you reevaluate who drains your energy. If someone constantly derails your mission with gossip, doubt, or noise, distance is discipline. You owe your future more than you owe their comfort. Busyness is another distraction. It feels productive, but it's often just motion without direction. Just because your calendar is full doesn't mean your life is moving forward. Clarity comes when you subtract the unnecessary, not when you add more chaos in the name of ambition. Be honest about your digital addictions. Scrolling is not relaxing, it's numbing. Binge-watching is not rest-it's escape. You say you don't have time, yet you give hours to people who don't know you, and content that doesn't build you. Your focus is bleeding out. Plug the leak. Notifications are not obligations. Just because someone reaches out doesn't mean you owe them an immediate response. Turn them off. Check messages on your schedule, not theirs. Reclaim your control. A reactive mind can't create it, can only respond. Comparison is a lethal distraction. Watching someone else's journey doesn't accelerate yours, it delays it. The more you scroll, the more you forget who you are and what you're building. Stop watching. Start working. The results you want are on the other side of focus, not envy. Multitasking is a myth. You're not doing more, you're doing everything worse. Discipline your brain to handle one task at a time. Give it your full force. Precision beats chaos. Laser beats flashlight. You don't need scattered energy. You need targeted execution. Create a not-to-do list. Everyone has a to-do list, but few have the courage to define what they'll stop doing. What habits, people, platforms, and tasks are eating your focus without feeding your goals? List them, then eliminate without mercy. Freedom comes through subtraction. When you remove distractions, you face yourself. That's why most people avoid silence. It confronts them with truth. But those who grow lean into it. They sit in the stillness and sharpen their awareness. It's not comfortable, but it is where power begins. Track your time like you track your money. Where does it go? What does it return? Audit your hours with the same intensity you'd audit a failing business. Every wasted minute is a missed rep, a missed skill, a missed breakthrough. Cut the loss. Refocus the investment. Most distractions enter through unguarded time. Idle space invites chaos. Fill it with structure. Plan your days with intention. Leave room for rest, but don't leave room for randomness. Randomness is where focus dies. Predict your day so distractions can't surprise you. You don't need permission to protect your focus. You don't need to reply to every call. You don't need to be available 24/7. Being constantly reachable makes you forgettable. The most respected people are often the most unavailable for a reason. Their energy is sacred. Your brain thrives on clarity. When you remove distractions, you think deeper, act faster, and feel lighter. You're not overwhelmed because life is hard. You're overwhelmed because you're carrying too much. That doesn't matter. Drop it. Sharpen the blade. Choose boredom over chaos. Let your mind get quiet. That's when your best ideas surface. That's when your subconscious finally speaks. If you're always stimulated, you're never listening. Silence is not the absence of life, it's the amplifier of what really matters. The strongest warriors don't carry everything. They carry only what matters. Distraction is heavy. Cut it. Travel light. The journey to focus is not about more, it's about less. Less noise, less clutter, less mental debt. Clarity is earned through cutting. Train yourself to love simplicity. Don't chase complexity for the sake of feeling smart. Most brilliance comes from focused repetition of simple actions. One page, one workout, one task. Done again and again. That's how mountains are moved quietly, consistently. Be deliberate with your relationships. Surround yourself with those who respect your silence, not those who interrupt it. Your focus deserves protection, not permission. When you're serious about your mission, the wrong people will feel like noise. That's your cue. You're not stuck, you're distracted. You're not confused, you're overstimulated. The way out is not to do more, it's to do less of what doesn't matter. Cut deep, focus hard. And when you do, you'll realize you never needed more time. You just needed fewer distractions. The mind is a battlefield, and distraction is the enemy's weapon. Every time you lose focus, you give that weapon power. But when you become aware of how distraction creeps in through convenience, comfort, and chaos, you begin to fight back. Awareness isn't enough. You must build a system that shuts the door before distraction even knocks. Remove temptation before it tempts you. If you're trying to quit sugar, you don't keep candy in the house. If you're trying to focus, you don't keep social apps within reach. Willpower is not your first line of defense, environment is. Structure beats struggle. Make distraction difficult, and focus will come easier. People will misunderstand your silence. When you stop replying instantly, stop showing up for nonsense, they'll think you've changed, and you have. You're no longer living at the mercy of other people's urgency. You're learning to live at the pace of purpose. Not everyone will applaud it, but your future will. Focus is not a switch, it's a shield. You have to raise it daily, knowing that everything around you is trying to pierce it. Notifications, obligations, irrelevant conversations, these are arrows. Your shield is made of decisions. Decisions to disconnect. Decisions to protect your time like treasure. Distraction is the greatest tool of mediocrity. It makes you forget how powerful you are. It pulls you into a fog where you're always busy but never building. You wake up tired, not from the work you did, but from the energy you gave away. You don't need to hustle more, you need to leak less. Think of every distraction as a thief. Would you let someone steal your wallet in broad daylight? Then why let them steal your attention, your mental clarity, your momentum? Time is your currency. And unlike money, once you spend it, it's gone forever. Be stingy with it. The reason most people never finish anything isn't laziness, it's fragmentation. Too many open tabs. Too many ideas with no execution. Focus requires finishing, and finishing requires cutting. Cut the new idea. Cut the second option. Stick with the one thing that matters most. Kill the rest. Repetition is hard when you're addicted to novelty, but that's where greatness hides. In the boring, in the consistent, in the daily ritual of showing up. Distraction feeds on your desire to feel stimulated. Focus grows when you teach yourself to stay committed, even when it's not exciting. Your energy is not unlimited. Every time you switch tasks, switch apps, switch attention, you burn fuel. Multitasking is like trying to sprint in 10 directions at once. You move, but you go nowhere. Real power is depth. Doing one thing so deeply that time slows down and quality skyrockets. Your future self is watching. Every time you break a focus streak to check your phone, to answer a random message, you are stealing from that future. You may not feel it today, but it adds up. The difference between greatness and regret is often just 10 minutes of focus repeated. Guard your mornings. That first hour sets the tone for everything. If you start in chaos, you'll carry it all day. But if you start with clarity, no phone, no noise, just intention, you build a fortress in your mind. Protect that first hour like your life depends on it, because it does. Eliminate choice fatigue. The more decisions you make in a day, the more your brain burns out. Structure eliminates distraction. Have a set routine. Wear the same clothes if you must. Eat similar meals. Save your brain power for the work that moves mountains, not the shoes you'll wear. Don't explain your focus to people who won't understand it. They'll think you're being rude, distant, too intense. Let them. You weren't born to fit in with the distracted. You were born to stand out through clarity. When you cut distractions, you cut excuses, and not everyone's ready for that. Meditate, even if it's just 5 minutes, not to be spiritual or trendy, but to train your brain to stop chasing noise. Sit in the discomfort of silence. Watch your thoughts. Don't chase them. The more you master your mind in stillness, the more you dominate in movement. Turn your phone into a tool, not a trap. Delete apps. Use Do Not Disturb. Keep it in another room when working. It's not about being perfect, it's about being intentional. Technology is powerful, but so are you. And only one of you should be in control. Be mindful of mental clutter. It's not always the external world that distracts you. Sometimes it's your own overthinking, your unprocessed fears, your unresolved conversations. Journal. Reflect. Clear your mental desktop like you clear your screen. Then go build. Set a timer and sprint. Focus doesn't mean sitting still for hours. It means going all in for a short burst. 25 minutes of locked-in work can beat 2 hours of half-distracted effort. Use timers. Use constraints. Let pressure sharpen you, not scatter you. Create a digital sunset. Set a time each night when all devices go off. No scrolling, no last-minute replies, just stillness. Let your brain breathe. Let it recover. Deep focus requires deep rest, and that rest begins by cutting the cord before bed. Refuse to be a slave to urgency. Just because something feels urgent doesn't mean it's important. Train your mind to pause, breathe, and evaluate. The fire in your inbox is not your fire. Learn to let things burn that aren't meant to be saved. Save your energy for your mission. Focus is freedom. When you cut distractions, you free your mind, your time, and your energy. You're no longer tossed by the winds of the world, you become the storm. And once you've tasted that kind of clarity, you'll never want to live any other way again. Chapter 7. Build a daily focus ritual. Focus doesn't just appear, it's built. And the foundation is your daily ritual. Ritual is more than routine. It's an agreement with your future self. When you show up the same way every day, even when you don't feel like it, you train your brain to expect deep work. You eliminate choice. You step into power. Your day shouldn't begin by accident. It should begin by design. Before the world shouts its demands, you should already be emotion-aligned, intentional, clear. That's why your morning ritual is sacred. It's where your clarity is forged, your priorities are decided, and your momentum begins. Don't wait to feel ready. Ritual isn't about emotion, it's about consistency. When you brush your teeth, you don't negotiate. That's how focus should be. You don't wake up wondering if today is the day you build. You wake up and build. That's discipline disguised as ritual. Start with silence. Before the noise of the world floods in, meet yourself. No phone, no screens, no distractions, just breath, intention, and presence. 5 minutes of stillness in the morning can anchor your entire day. It reminds you that the world doesn't control your mind, you do. Write it down. Clarity lives on paper. Every morning, list your top 3 priorities. Not 10, just 3. These are your non-negotiables. The things that, if done, will move your life forward. Simplicity isn't weakness. It's the sharp edge of execution. Design a trigger, something that signals to your brain. It's time to focus now. It could be lighting a candle, putting on headphones, or opening your journal. When that cue is repeated daily, your mind enters focus mode automatically. Ritual becomes reflex. Protect your first task. The first thing you do sets the tone. Don't waste it on email or scrolling. Begin with the hardest, most meaningful work. That one act builds momentum, confidence, and clarity. You prove to yourself that you are in charge of your impulses. Create a work sanctuary. Your space matters. Clean, minimal, intentional. A desk is not just a table, it's your battlefield. Remove clutter. Add inspiration. Make it feel like a place where greatness is built, not just tasks are ticked off. Energy lives in environment. Use time blocks. Focus is fragile when stretched too thin. Set a timer. Work in focused sprints 25, 50, or 90 minutes. Then step away. Let your brain recover. Like a muscle, it grows in the rest. This cycle of intensity and release is the rhythm of peak performance. Don't multitask. Multitasking is a myth. Your brain can only focus on one thing at a time. Every switch has a cost. Be ruthless. One task, one window, one purpose. Let the world wait. The most powerful minds in history were masters of monotasking. Create a reset ritual. When your mind wanders and it wildn't panic, step away, breathe, stretch, journal, reset your nervous system. Don't fight distraction with force. Dissolve it with awareness. Then return with even sharper focus than before. Let ritual extend into the evening. How you end the day determines how you start the next. Create a shutdown routine. Close tabs. Reflect on wins. Plan tomorrow. Put your mind to rest like you do your body. Sleep is deeper when the mind is settled. Fuel your brain like a warrior. Focus is biological. You can't run on junk and expect clarity. Hydrate, eat clean, move your body. Your ritual is not just mental, it's physical. A sharp mind needs a strong vessel. Take care of both, and both will serve you. Guard your ritual from the world. People will test your boundaries. They'll pull you into drama, chaos, urgency. Don't explain, just protect. Ritual is your sacred ground. It's where the old you dies and the new you is forged every single day. Track your ritual. What gets measured improves. Use a simple calendar. Mark the days you kept your ritual. Watch the chain grow. It builds pride. It builds identity. The day you don't want to break the chain is the day your ritual becomes part of you. Speak it into existence. Before you begin, declare, "Today, I show up for my mission." Words have power. They train your mind. Your ritual isn't just about task, it's about energy. Start with power. Speak with power. Act with power. Let your focus hear your voice. Don't worship the clock, worship your energy. Some days you'll go longer, others shorter. That's fine. The key is to begin. Once you start, you enter the zone. And the zone is not about how long, it's about how deep. Depth comes from devotion, not duration. Be flexible, not fragile. Your ritual may shift. That's okay. Life changes. schedules evolve. But the core ethos, showing up, the intention, the focus must stay unshaken. Ritual is not perfection, it's presence. Be present, even if the ritual looks different today. Teach your body to trust your mind. When you stick to your ritual, your body starts listening. It prepares for focus. It builds stamina. You move from forcing it to flowing through it. And once flow kicks in, the impossible becomes routine. This isn't just about productivity, it's about becoming someone new. Your daily ritual is the practice ground for your next level. Each focused day adds a brick to the foundation of an unbreakable life. Show up long enough, and even failure starts to respect you. Every ritual is a signal to the subconscious. This is who I am now. You're not just doing tasks, you're forming identity. When you consistently show up for a ritual, you stop seeing it as effort and start seeing it as who you are. The mind aligns when identity becomes clear. Make your ritual so strong that even on your worst day, you still show up. It's not about intensity, it's about reliability. A short, simple ritual done daily is more powerful than a perfect one done occasionally. The power isn't in perfection, it's in presence. You don't need a 5 a.m. miracle morning to succeed. What you need is ownership. Choose a time, choose a flow, and stick to it. Let your ritual fit your life, not someone else's YouTube routine. What matters is that you own it fully without excuses. Don't confuse stimulation with progress. Ritual is about depth, not dopamine. When you work deeply, you may not feel a rush, but results stack. Most people chase energy spikes. The focused ones chase mastery. Your ritual should train your brain to value substance over sensation. Eliminate choice fatigue. The more decisions you make before you start, the weaker your focus becomes. Structure your ritual so it's automatic. Same place, same time, same order. Decision is the enemy of momentum. Remove it and watch your clarity rise. Pair your ritual with music or sound. A single song can become your mental trigger. When your mind hears that track, it enters work mode. This conditioning creates a fast lane to focus. Use it daily until the music becomes a gateway to your power state. Ritual doesn't mean rigidity, it means rhythm. You don't have to follow it like a robot. You follow it like a warrior with presence and adaptability. If something no longer serves your growth, evolve it. Rituals are meant to support you, not trap you. Visualize before you begin. See yourself locked in, calm and flowing. The mind responds to imagery. If you can see the version of yourself who crushes your ritual, you begin becoming that person. Focused action begins with a focused vision. Stack your habits into one ritual: meditation, journaling, reading, stretching. These aren't separate tasks, they're ingredients. When combined with purpose and consistency, they become the armor that protects your mind. Ritual isn't about time, it's about intention. Never underestimate the power of a reset ritual midday. 1 minute of stillness, a breath, a pause. These micro-rituals realign you with your highest self. Focus isn't only built once in the morning, it's reinforced every time you choose presence. The more sacred you make your ritual, the more powerful you become. Don't let it feel casual. Don't treat it like just another thing. This is your sacred hour, your mind-training dojo, your moment of inner alignment. Honor it, and it will return the favor tenfold. A ritual is the antidote to chaos. When everything around you feels out of control, your ritual is your anchor. It reminds you who you are. It brings structure to uncertainty. It keeps your compass pointed forward, even in storms. Teach others to respect your ritual not by preaching, but by protecting it. If you cancel it often, no one will value it. But when they see how seriously you guard your time, they'll begin to understand this is not a hobby. It's your path. Track your distractions. After your ritual, reflect. What pulled your attention? What broke your flow? What energized you? This awareness is part of the ritual itself. Without reflection, repetition becomes routine. But with reflection, repetition becomes refinement. Celebrate completion. When you finish your ritual, mark it with something. A fist pump, a note in your journal, a whispered, "I showed up." These micro rewards reinforce the behavior. You're not just checking a box, you're becoming a weapon. Build in challenge. As you grow, increase intensity. Add more depth. Tighter focus. Fewer distractions. The ritual that worked last month should evolve with you. Growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from calibrated pressure enough to stretch, not snap. Use light to your advantage. Bright light in the morning boosts alertness. A dim, calm light in the evening winds you down. Your ritual should include environmental cues that tell your body, it's time to work or it's time to reflect. When motivation fades sand, it always will. Ritual remains. This is how champions operate. They don't wait for energy. They don't beg for perfect conditions. They build a system that functions with or without excitement. That's what makes it powerful. Remember, the ritual doesn't just prepare you for the day, it builds the version of you who owns the day. You're not doing it for the task list. You're doing it to become someone who finishes, who focuses, who follows through. Identity over output. End every ritual with intention. Ask yourself, did I focus? Did I show up? If yes, celebrate. If no, adjust. The ritual is not about judgment, it's about alignment. Over time, this daily structure becomes your launchpad, not just for work, but for life itself. Chapter 8. Your environment shapes your clarity. Your mind is not a vacuum. It responds to signals. Everything around you, your room, your desk, your phone, your lighting whispers instructions to your brain. If your environment is chaotic, your thoughts become chaotic. But if your space breathes focus, your mind learns to follow. This is not aesthetics. This is neuroengineering. Clarity doesn't start in your head. It starts in the world you live in. A clean space isn't just visually appealing, it's mentally disarming. Every object has energy. Every cluttered drawer, every distracting app, every pile of clothes becomes static that interferes with your signal. Clear space, clear mind. Your environment trains your habits. Leave your phone on your desk, and distraction becomes normal. Place a journal where your phone used to be, and reflection becomes a new default. The power isn't in the objects themselves, it's in what they cue your brain to do without thinking. You become what you see every day. If your wall has quotes about discipline, your brain absorbs them like software. If your screen is filled with noise, your focus becomes fragmented. Input determines output. Change what you're surrounded by, and you'll change how you think. Don't underestimate the invisible. Lighting, sound, scent, these subtle forces guide your focus like a hidden hand. Bright light sharpens awareness. Calm sounds promote deep flow. Even scent can anchor a ritual into your brain. Build an environment that speaks to your nervous system. Where you work matters. Sit where you scroll, and your mind will beg to scroll. Sit where you've built before, and it will remember the energy. Create zones. One chair for focus, one for reflection, one for rest. This physical separation creates mental precision. Digital space is space too. Your home screen, your notifications, your folders, each one is either a gateway or a trap. Design your digital world like a temple, not a playground. Remove apps that drain. Keep only what serves. Don't let chaos hide in your pocket. Environment isn't just about things, it's about people. If you're surrounded by drama, you'll think in drama. If you're surrounded by clarity, you'll grow in clarity. Protect your peace like it's oxygen. Who you're around shapes who you become, whether you notice or not. Create a power corner, a chair by the window, a desk with only essentials, a shelf with books that built you. Let that corner become your sanctuary. Enter it with purpose. Let your mind know, here, we don't scroll, we build. Noise destroys mental accuracy. If you're always around noise, your thoughts become diluted. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the amplification of intention. Build silence into your space, even if just 5 minutes a day. It's not luxury, it's survival for deep thinkers. You can't grow a sharp mind in a dull space. Upgrade your environment like your future depends on it, because it does. That doesn't mean expensive, it means intentional. A candle, a clean desk, a whiteboard, a playlist, tools, not toys. Everything around you must serve a purpose. You don't need a mansion, you need a mindset. Even a small room can become a fortress of focus when it's built with intention. Make your space so aligned with your goals that stepping into it feels like stepping into a mission. That's when clarity becomes automatic. Control the first thing you see when you wake up. Is it chaos or calm? Is it Instagram or a page of wisdom? That first input writes the script for your brain's entire day. Change the script. Win the day before the world even wakes up. Take inventory weekly. Look around your space and ask, what here makes me sharper? What here makes me weaker? Be ruthless. Remove one distraction every week. Add one tool of clarity. Over time, your space becomes a reflection of the best version of you. Even color affects clarity. Blues calm the brain, warm tones energize, minimalism promotes flow. You don't need to hire a designer, just be intentional. Choose tones that support your state. Your environment is a silent teacher. Make sure it teaches focus. Environment builds momentum. When your space invites action, resistance disappears. You sit down and begin without delay, without excuses. Friction fades when the path is clear. So design your space like an athlete designs a gym. Every piece should scream, let's go. Make your environment so powerful that even when you're tired, it pulls you in. A book on the table, a notebook within reach, a dim light that says, reflect. When your space nudges you to rise instead of retreat, you stop relying on motivation, you rely on design. Clarity is not just about what's present, it's about what's absent. What you remove is just as important as what you add. Distraction thrives in excess. Simplicity is a weapon. Let your space breathe. Let it echo back only what matters. Your environment is a mirror of your self-respect. If your space is neglected, it means your focus is not yet sacred. But once you start treating your environment like a temple, your mind begins to believe that you are someone who deserves clarity, power, and peace. You don't rise above your environment, you fall to its level. So build it like your destiny depends on it, because it does. Shape your space, and your space will shape you. That's how environments create legacies, not just habits. A focused mind craves minimalism, not the aesthetic kind, but the functional kind. Fewer decisions, fewer distractions, fewer visual interruptions. When your mind doesn't have to fight clutter, it can dive deeper, stay longer, and execute faster. That's the power of intentional space. It frees your bandwidth for what actually matters. The subconscious is always watching. It picks up the details you ignore, that crack in the wall, that overflowing drawer, that stack of dishes. You might think they don't matter, but they're micro-stressors, silent weights. And over time, they crush clarity. Fix your environment, watch your energy rise. There's a reason monks keep their space clean and sparse. Not for appearance, but for purity of thought. In a clean space, your mind stops scanning for disorder and starts scanning for insight. It's not about being neat, it's about removing friction between you and flow. Even your chair matters. A place where your body rests comfortably, aligned and alert, sends signals to your brain. We're here to work. Don't lounge where you build. Don't build where you sleep. Let each space carry a single strong identity. That identity trains your brain. Visual anchors are powerful. A quote on the wall, a meaningful object, a photo of the life you're building. These aren't decorations, they're subconscious commands. Every time you glance, you remember who you are, why you started, and what matters. Use your walls like whiteboards for your soul. If your space drains you, it's time to rebuild it. Maybe you inherited your environment. Maybe it just grew around you like noise. That doesn't mean you have to keep it. Start with one corner, one drawer, one wall, build momentum, reclaim your mental territory. Smell has memory. A certain scent can pull you into a focused state faster than a timer. Lavender, sandalwood, citrus experiment. Anchor a scent to your deep work. Over time, your brain will associate that smell with clarity. That's how rituals are born. Silence your notifications not just on your phone, but in your space. Remove the bells, buzzes, pop-ups, pings. They fracture attention into fragments. Your mind is a powerful lens, but only if you stop letting the world shake it every 5 minutes. Protect your signal. You don't rise in chaos, you rise in systems. A place for everything, a rhythm for your tools. When your environment is predictable, your mind becomes freer. Paradoxically, structure is what unlocks creative freedom. No mess, no searching, just flow. Let nature in. A plant on the desk, sunlight through the blinds, a window with a view. Nature heals focus. It restores calm. It breaks digital hypnosis and reminds you, clarity is a natural state note, a forced one. Bring the outdoors into your workspace. Disorder multiplies. One small pile becomes a table of clutter. One delay becomes a week of distraction. Don't let things pile. Reset your space at the end of each day. 5 minutes of clearing saves hours of fatigue tomorrow. That's discipline in motion. Create a closing ritual. A scent, a sound, a lamp turned off, a phrase written down. Let your space tell your brain, we're done for now. This boundary prevents burnout. It creates psychological safety. You're not a machine. Let your environment respect your cycles. Color code your world. Not just for efficiency, but for mood. Red energizes. Blue calms. Green balances. If your work demands power, pick tones that amplify it. If it requires calm, tone it down. Don't just decorate, engineer emotional cues. Mirrors are metaphors. When you see yourself in your space, ask, does this version of me reflect who I want to become? If not, rearrange the room. Add what reflects your future self. Remove what echoes your past. Space is identity. Curate it like a masterpiece. Even background noise matters. A quiet hum, lo-fi beats, instrumental focus playlists, these can create auditory boundaries that help your brain lock in. But if you let random noise rule, your mind will scatter. Control your soundscape. Guard your headspace. Temperature affects willpower. Too hot and you get lazy. Too cold and you get restless. Find your optimum zone. It sounds small, but peak performance comes from stacking tiny advantages. Your environment should feel like the perfect battlefield: sharp, balanced, alert. A tidy space invites a tidy process. When you know where things are, your mind doesn't pause. It doesn't switch tasks. It flows. This fluidity is what produces deep work, the kind that changes your life. Don't wait for inspiration. Build the runway for it. Add reminders of your greatness, not ego but evidence. A note you once wrote, a goal you once hit, a book that once shifted your thinking. Keep these close. They aren't trophies. They're fuel. When doubt creeps in, they remind you, you've conquered before. You can again. Let your space evolve with you. What served you 6 months ago might now slow you down. Audit often. Rebuild when needed. Upgrade your chair. Replace that broken lamp. Rearrange the flow. Growth is environmental as much as it is internal. Finally, remember, your space reflects your self-worth. Build like someone who believes in their future. Arrange like someone preparing for greatness. Treat your desk like a launch pad, your room like a mission control, because when your environment rises, your life does too. Chapter 9. Momentum comes from stillness. Stillness isn't laziness, it's calibration. In a world that glorifies hustle, we forget that even the sharpest sword must pause to be sharpened. Stillness is where you regain your aim. It's the breath before the strike. The more deliberate your pause, the more powerful your next move becomes. True momentum doesn't begin with speed. It begins with stillness, because clarity is born in silence. Rushing without alignment only leads to chaos. But when you take a moment to listen to your inner compass, your next action hits with precision, not panic. Imagine a bow pulled back in perfect silence. No flinch, no noise. Just tension building, power collecting. That's what stillness is. It's the drawing back of energy, preparing to release with unstoppable force. Don't be afraid to pause. It means you're charging up. Stillness is active, not passive. It's where you become aware of your direction, your distractions, and your discipline. Most people move fast but don't move forward. You pause to assess, align, and then accelerate with purpose. That's the difference between motion and momentum. When you sit with your thoughts, they stop chasing you. Reflection creates separation between impulse and intention. It's in the quiet moments where you untangle chaos, decode emotions, and reset your internal rhythm. Stillness makes your next step meaningful. The mind becomes sharp in silence, not when it's reacting, but when it's observing. In stillness, you catch the lies you've been telling yourself. You see the patterns you've been ignoring. You realize how much energy you've been wasting, and that awareness changes everything. Stillness teaches you the difference between urgent and important. When you're always moving, everything feels like a crisis. But when you stop, breathe, and observe, you start to notice some things don't deserve your energy, and some things demand your full focus. Sometimes doing nothing is doing everything. Let the noise pass. Let the pressure settle. That's when your deeper intelligence speaks. Not the frantic, stressed version of you, but the grounded, strategic one. The one that knows timing is power. Even athletes rest between rounds. The pause isn't weakness, it's recovery. It's where you refuel, reframe, recommit. Momentum isn't built by burning out. It's built by respecting your energy and choosing when to sprint. Not everything needs your speed only, your sharpness. Stillness builds resilience, because when you can be alone, quiet, and calm without running from your thoughts, you become untouchable. Most people panic when things slow down, but you thrive. You use it. You sharpen your focus when others lose theirs. A quiet mind doesn't react, it calculates. It doesn't flinch when provoked. It doesn't scatter when things shift. That's what makes stillness dangerous. It's the calm that precedes dominance. Stillness gives birth to moves no one saw coming. Momentum born from chaos is unstable. It crashes. But momentum born from stillness, it's grounded. It sustains. It multiplies. Because it wasn't reaction, it was intention. And intention, once in motion, creates momentum that lasts beyond motivation. Stillness amplifies vision. When the water is still, you can see to the bottom. Same with your mind. If it's always disturbed, you miss the truth. But when you still the surface, you see what you really need to fix, what you really want, and how to get there. It's hard to pause when you've been running from yourself. But that's where the work is. That's where the transformation starts. In stillness, there's no one to impress, no mask to wear. Just you and your truth, and that honesty gives birth to unstoppable change. Stillness builds patience, and patience builds power. When you're not desperate to act, you hold the advantage. You wait for the right opening. You strike when it matters. Most people rush. But you wait, you study, and then you move with dominance. Every storm has an eye. The calm center, the one place that isn't shaking. Be that. Find your eye in the middle of your chaos. That's where your decisions get better. That's where your focus survives. That's where momentum is born while the world spins. Stillness rewires your nervous system. It tells your body, we're safe, we're in control, we're not reacting. That safety unlocks creativity. It unlocks discipline. It allows you to perform from a place of peace instead of panic. That's high performance. Stillness is uncomfortable at first. The silence screams. The boredom bites. But once you lean in, it becomes your edge. Because while others stay addicted to movement, you become a master of control. And control is where real freedom lives. Even the most powerful engines idle before they launch. That pause allows all systems to align, stabilize, and prepare for full force. Don't skip your idle moments. They aren't downtime, they're liftoff prep. They're the sacred space before impact. Stillness teaches you that movement is a choice, not a compulsion. Once you reclaim that power, your momentum stops being accidental. It becomes deliberate. And that kind of momentum, it doesn't just move you forward, it makes you unstoppable. Stillness is where your intentions gain weight. In motion, everything feels urgent, but in stillness, only what truly matters remains. It filters your priorities like a sieve, separating noise from necessity. When you take the time to sit in your own awareness, life stops being reactive and starts being strategic. Every powerful move you make should begin in silence. Not every thought needs to be spoken. Not every impulse deserves action. Those who learn to pause before they respond are the ones who eventually lead. Stillness gives you space between the spark and the explosion, space to choose mastery over emotion. The most dangerous man is the one who sits still while everyone else rushes. Because he's not idle, he's watching. He's absorbing. He's calculating moves with precision. While others waste energy reacting, he conserves his until it becomes unstoppable force at the right moment. Stillness doesn't mean you've stopped growing, it means you're growing deeper. It's not the absence of progress. It's a different kind of progress. One that roots you in clarity before elevation. You don't build sky-high towers on shaky ground. You go still, dig deep, then rise. In stillness, your inner voice becomes louder than the world. The voice that knows what you really want, what you really need, and what you're capable of if you stop chasing distractions. When you can sit with yourself without needing a screen, a song, or a sound, you've found real power. Stillness lets you observe your triggers instead of becoming them. You start noticing the patterns that lead to failure, the words that weaken you, the thoughts that aren't yours. And with that awareness, you gain choice. Stillness turns unconscious habits into conscious decisions. Your greatest breakthroughs won't come when you're sprinting through life. They'll come when you stop, when you sit with discomfort, ask hard questions, and refuse to numb the truth. Stillness doesn't remove the pain, it reveals what the pain is trying to teach you. Stillness builds trust not with the world, but with yourself. When you can sit in silence and hear your own thoughts without judgment, you begin to believe in your own decisions. And that internal confidence becomes the foundation of unshakable focus. You don't need to announce your pause. You don't need to explain your silence. Let them wonder, let them assume, because when you re-emerge, your momentum will speak louder than any update ever could. Quiet preparation leads to undeniable transformation. Stillness resets your rhythm. It helps you detach from society's pace and reconnect with your own. Not everyone's meant to run fast. Some are built to move deliberately, deeply, with weight behind every step. Stillness helps you rediscover the rhythm that matches your mission. Stillness is the difference between reacting and responding. When you react, the world controls you. When you respond, you control your direction. And the longer you sit in stillness, the more control you reclaim. Control of your mind, your emotions, your focus. Nature teaches this best. Look at how the tiger waits in silence before it pounces. That pause is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's instinct honed by stillness. Your mind works the same way. The silence before your move determines how lethal that move becomes. Most people are terrified of stillness because it strips away distractions. It forces them to see what they've been avoiding. But avoidance never leads to greatness. Stillness may be uncomfortable, but it's also honest. And it's in that honesty where growth begins. In stillness, your past no longer chases you. It sits beside you. You face it. You stop running. And that alone reclaims power. You realize it's not your history that defines you. It's your ability to stop, process, and choose what you become next. Stillness is your training ground for discipline. If you can master your mind in quiet, you can command it in chaos. If you can focus without stimulation, you'll become unstoppable when it's time to act. Discipline doesn't begin with doing it, begins with being. Think of stillness like sharpening a blade. You're not swinging wildly, you're preparing for one clean cut. That cut is your move, your decision, your shift. And because it was forged in silence, it's unstoppable in execution. Stillness makes your strikes count. Stillness is presence, and presence is power. When you're fully here, unshaken, unbothered, and undistracted, you gain access to everything others miss. You catch subtle cues, see deeper patterns, and make decisions from grounded clarity rather than emotional chaos. If you never pause, you never recalibrate. Momentum built in the wrong direction isn't success, it's self-sabotage. Stillness helps you check your compass. Are you moving toward purpose? Or are you just moving? That pause might save years of going the wrong way. Stillness strengthens your intuition. It's the only time your inner knowing has space to rise above the mental clutter. In silence, your instincts sharpen. You stop guessing and start sensing. That's not magician's alignment. Stillness clears the noise so you can finally hear yourself. And remember, the stillest waters run the deepest. That depth is where your wisdom lives. That's where your future self is forged. If you want to build momentum that lasts, momentum that matters, start with stillness. Let it teach you. Let it guide you. Let it prepare you for greatness. Chapter 10. Protect your focus like it's your life. Your focus is your life force. Every dream, goal, and mission you've ever had is built or broken by where your attention goes. Most people don't lose because they're weak. They lose because they're distracted. Every time you check out mentally, you're handing your power to something that doesn't deserve it. The world is not designed to protect your focus. It's designed to steal it. Notifications, noise, endless opinions, and manufactured emergencies, they're all distractions dressed as urgency. If you don't take control, your energy will be spent reacting to everything and building nothing. Protecting your focus means setting boundaries that might offend people. You might stop answering every message. You might turn off your phone. You might disappear for a season. That's not selfish. That's self-preservation. Because anything that costs your focus is too expensive. Every time you give your attention to something meaningless, you're abandoning something meaningful. Your future isn't built in grand moments, it's built in quiet blocks of uninterrupted focus. And if you're not fiercely guarding those moments, someone else is stealing your destiny. Most people want results but won't protect the space where those results are built. They want clarity, but they swim in noise. They want strength, but they feed their mind junk. If you want real transformation, you have to treat your focus like your most sacred resource. Discipline isn't just waking up early or grinding through discomfort, it's saying no. No to what drains you, no to what distracts you, no to what doesn't align. The stronger your no, the sharper your focus, and the sharper your focus, the more dangerous your actions become. Focus isn't a state you fall into, it's something you build. And like any structure, it needs a strong foundation. That foundation is silence. That structure is ritual. And the roof that protects it is your refusal to be pulled in 1,000 useless directions. You don't owe everyone access to your time. Every yes you give to someone else is a no to your vision. Focus demands choices, hard ones, uncomfortable ones. But if you want to rise, you must learn to protect your mental space with the same urgency you'd protect your home. The moment you decide to focus, life will test you. Old habits, old people, old distractions will resurface desperate to keep you small. Don't be surprised. Be ready. Expect resistance. But stay locked in, because nothing powerful is built without fierce concentration. The average mind seeks entertainment. The focused mind seeks elevation. What you consume becomes what you think. What you think becomes what you do. So filter everything. Social feeds, conversations, content. Ask yourself, does this serve my focus or sabotage it? Your focus should have a fortress, not a tent, not an open door, a fortress. That means routines, systems, and sacred non-negotiables. Morning time for silence, hours blocked for deep work, evenings for reflection. This is how champions protect their mental battlefield. The people who truly succeed aren't working 24/7, they're working with clarity. They've mastered the art of cutting out what doesn't matter. It's not about hustle, it's about direction. Focus gives you that direction, and direction saves you years of wasted effort. Focus isn't about perfection, it's about return. When you get distracted, don't spiral, return. When your mind wanders, gently pull it back. Focus is not a superpower, it's a discipline. And like any discipline, it's strengthened through repetition. You will lose friends when you get focused. You will outgrow conversations, environments, even your old self. That's the price. But what you gain is worth more clarity, peace, progress. Let them say, "You've changed." You have. That was the point. There is no greatness without intentional focus. Every book written, every masterpiece painted, every empire built started with someone who sat down, blocked the world out, and got to work. Not once, not twice, but consistently, quietly, relentlessly. Train your brain like a guardian. Don't let everything in. Be selective. Be ruthless. The same way you don't open your door to strangers. Don't open your mind to every stimulus. Guard your gates. Your energy is not for sale. Your attention is not a playground. One focused hour is worth more than 10 distracted ones. But most people spend their entire lives multitasking themselves into mediocrity. Stop trying to do everything. Do what matters. And do it with such intensity that the world has no choice but to notice. There will be times when you feel alone on this path. Good. That means you're finally away from the noise. That means you're finally creating instead of reacting. Focus will isolate you, but it will also elevate you, and that trade is always worth it. Don't just wish for focus, design for it. Create environments that support your discipline. A clean room, a clear schedule, a simplified digital space. Make your surroundings reflect the clarity you're chasing. This isn't just about mindset, it's about architecture. At the end of the day, your life becomes what you focus on. So focus on power, focus on peace, focus on building something that will outlive distractions. Because the world doesn't need another person chasing noise. It needs someone so focused, nothing can break them. Your focus is under constant attack, not because you're weak, but because you're powerful. The world only bombards what it fears. Every ad, ping, and meaningless headline exists to pull you from your purpose because a focused mind is a threat to systems built on distraction. When you finally start paying attention to your own growth, you become dangerous in the best way. You'll never master your life until you master your attention. Most people don't fail from a lack of talent. They fail because they gave too much attention to what didn't matter. Every unfinished dream is buried beneath a pile of distractions that seemed harmless in the moment. But those small moments compound into a stolen future. Focus requires clarity, and clarity requires subtraction. The more you subtract people, tasks, thoughts, the clearer your next step becomes. A crowded mind cannot build a focused life. You have to empty the noise before you can fill it with purpose. Simplify everything, ruthlessly. You don't need more apps to manage your time. You need more courage to say no. No to distractions disguised as opportunity. No to conversations that drain. No to notifications that hijack your thinking. Time management is not about scheduling, it's about shielding. Your energy is currency, and your focus is the investment. Spend it where it grows you. Every focused hour is a seed, every distraction is a weed. You can't plant power and water chaos. Protect your garden like your life depends on it, because it does. Stop trying to prove your worth by being available to everyone. The most valuable minds aren't available 24/7, they're intentional, reserved, and present only where it counts. Respect your mission enough to be unavailable to what isn't aligned with it. Focus is about devotion. Devotion to a craft, to a higher self, to a vision no one else sees but you. That kind of devotion requires separation. You don't find that level of power in the crowd, you find it in solitude, in silence, in deliberate disconnection. The most productive people in the world have one thing in common. They protect their mornings. Before the world wakes up, before the noise begins, they anchor their mind. A protected morning sets the rhythm for a focused day. Start early. Start sacred. Don't confuse busyness with progress. Movement means nothing if it's in circles. Most people exhaust themselves doing everything except the one thing that actually moves the needle. Focus cuts through that noise. It exposes what matters, and that clarity is priceless. You must become so protective of your focus that even your own thoughts get filtered. Not every thought deserves your attention. Train your mind to observe, not absorb, to question, not obey. Mastery begins when you stop believing every voice that enters your head. The more you train your focus, the more silence becomes a friend, not a threat. Distractions lose their grip. You begin to notice the space between impulses, and in that space, you gain control. That space is where freedom begins. Protect it at all costs. Your ability to focus isn't just about productivity, it's about self-respect. It's a declaration that your time, your goals, your mind are worth guarding, that you're no longer available to anything or anyone that doesn't feed your future. Cutting off distractions isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming clear. You're not avoiding life, you're directing it. You're not running away from people, you're running toward your highest self. This is not selfishness, this is strategic survival. Most people wake up and immediately surrender their focus. They check messages, scroll timelines, absorb drama, and wonder why the day controls them. Start differently. Start with stillness. Start with intention. Set the tone before the world sets it for you. When you finally understand the cost of distraction, you'll stop treating it like a joke. Every goal delayed, every idea abandoned, every moment wasted, it all adds up. You can't afford to keep sacrificing your future to things that won't matter a week from now. There's a power in doing one thing at a time with your full attention. In a world addicted to multitasking, this is a rebellion. A focused mind in a distracted world is not just rareates unstoppable. Do less. But do it better. Do it fully. Do it fiercely. You don't protect your focus once it's a daily fight. You'll have to recommit every morning. You'll have to re-choose your mission every hour. But each time you do, you reinforce who you're becoming. Each no builds the walls that protect your highest potential. You will be misunderstood. You will be labeled antisocial, obsessive, extreme. Let them misunderstand, because while they scroll, you build. While they react, you create. While they wait, you move. The world doesn't reward the distracted, it rewards the devoted. There's nothing soft about protecting your focus. It's war. A war between your old self and your future self, between noise and purpose, between average and excellence. And the battlefield is your attention. Guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. When it's all said and done, your legacy won't be shaped by how much you did. It'll be shaped by what you focused on. One powerful focus can change your entire life. So fix your eyes, fix your mind, and don't look away until the mission is complete. Chapter 11. Tunnel Vision in a World Full of Noise. Tunnel vision is not about ignoring the world, it's about choosing what matters in it. In an age where attention is currency, you must spend yours wisely. Every scroll, every distraction, every comment you chase is a leak in your focus. And leaks sink even the strongest ships if left unchecked. The noise is seductive because it's everywhere. It promises validation, stimulation, and escape. But all it delivers is fragmentation. Your mind splinters under the weight of everything you're trying to follow. Tunnel vision is the antidote, it brings you back to center. Success doesn't come from chasing everything. It comes from mastering one thing. Tunnel vision eliminates the unnecessary. It silences the chaos and forces you to ask the hard question, What actually moves the needle in my life? Everything else is noise. You can't hear your purpose if you're always tuned into everyone else's frequency. The opinions, the trends, the debates, they all distract from the quiet voice inside you that already knows the way. Tunnel vision protects that voice. It lets it speak louder than the world. The people who change the world don't multitask their legacy. They focus relentlessly. Whether it's an artist, an athlete, or an entrepreneur, the blueprint is always the same. Cut the noise, deepen the work. You're not here to be average. You're here to be exact. Noise is not just sound, it's confusion, comparison, clutter. Tunnel vision is clarity. It's the ability to stare down your path and keep walking, even when others pull at your attention, especially then. Because the louder the world gets, the more powerful silence becomes. The hardest part isn't starting with tunnel vision, it's keeping it. Because the world will constantly test your commitment. Notifications, distractions, emergencies that aren't really emergencies. Discipline means holding your focus when everything tries to break it. You don't owe everyone your energy. Just because they're loud doesn't mean they're right. Just because they're available doesn't mean they're helpful. Tunnel vision teaches you the power of selective attention. You get to choose what enters your mind. One goal, one path, one mission. That's tunnel vision. And while others are busy trying to do 10 things halfway, you're mastering one thing completely. The results won't come instantly, but when they come, they'll be undeniable. Clarity feels lonely sometimes. Tunnel vision means saying no more than you say yes. It means missing out on what's trending, so you don't miss out on what's timeless. People won't understand. Let them talk. You're not building for applause, you're building for impact. The reason tunnel vision works is because it removes friction. You no longer waste mental energy choosing between paths you've already committed. Now your energy goes toward momentum. You stop hesitating. You start executing. That's how progress compounds. Most people are pulled in every direction because they haven't decided what they actually want. Tunnel vision demands decision. It demands alignment. It demands you cut ties with every version of you that isn't built for where you're going. Every time you defend your tunnel vision, you're defending your future. People will try to pull you back into distraction-sold habits, old mindsets, old environments. Don't go. Stay locked in. You weren't born to repeat. You were born to evolve. You can be informed by the world without being consumed by it. Tunnel vision is not ignorance, it's intelligence. You know what matters, so you prioritize it. You know what distracts, so you remove it. That's not blindness, that's mastery. The deeper your tunnel vision, the clearer your next step becomes. You stop needing motivation because you've built momentum. And once you have momentum, you become unstoppable, not because you're fast, but because you're focused. You don't need to be everywhere. You need to be present where it counts. One room, one goal, 1 hour of deep work can outperform days of distracted effort. Tunnel vision isn't about doing more. It's about going deeper than anyone else is willing to go. The world screams for attention. You whisper with intent. That's the difference. Tunnel vision doesn't chase. It attracts. It commands respect because it shows commitment. When you lock in fully, the universe responds with doors you couldn't see in the noise. You'll lose people along the way. That's the price of precision. Some can't handle your focus because it makes them question their own distractions. Let them go. Your vision is not a group project. You weren't built to dilute your purpose for anyone. Every time you choose tunnel vision, you choose legacy over likes, depth over distraction, mastery over mediocrity. You say, I know what I want, and I won't stop until I get it. That's not just power, that's transformation. So, block the noise, guard your attention, stay locked on your mission. Because the longer you walk with tunnel vision, the closer you get to the life most people will never reach, not because it's impossible, but because they never focused long enough to touch it. Tunnel vision is a rebellion against mediocrity. It's the mental posture that says, I'm not here to dabble, I'm here to dominate. It's not easy to stay locked in when distractions offer instant gratification. But tunnel vision delays the dopamine for a deeper reward: greatness. To build tunnel vision, you must get clear on what matters most and kill what doesn't. That clarity isn't gifted. It's earned through reflection, through failure, through choosing one mission and cutting every option that waters it down. You can't serve two masters. Choose. Focus is fragile when it lacks a foundation. That foundation is purpose. When you know why you're doing what you're doing, you won't be swayed by distractions masked as opportunities. Tunnel vision becomes easier when your purpose becomes non-negotiable. The world will test you with noise dressed as urgency. People will demand your time, your energy, your peace. Tunnel vision protects you with one question: does this serve the mission? If it doesn't, walk away guilt-free and unapologetic. Most people don't fail because they lack skill. They fail because they lose sight. One bad day becomes a bad week. One distraction becomes a new habit. Tunnel vision stops the spiral. It reminds you that your goal didn't vanish, it just got buried under noise. Discipline and tunnel vision are inseparable. Focus without discipline is a wish. Discipline without focus is wasted effort. But together, they create a force no obstacle can survive. That's when you stop surviving the world and start shaping it. You have to stop romanticizing balance if it costs you progress. There will be seasons where tunnel vision means imbalance, where you go all in on one thing. That's not burnout, that's building. You're sacrificing comfort for clarity, and it's worth it. You won't always feel motivated, but tunnel vision doesn't need feelings, it needs systems. Create routines that anchor you when inspiration fades. When the mood dies, the mission lives. That's how warriors show up regardless of weather. Comparison is a sneaky thief. Tunnel vision blinds you to what others are doing so you can fully engage with your path. Their timeline isn't yours. Their pace isn't yours. Tunnel vision says, let them run, I'll build in silence, and let the results speak. There's a strange peace in tunnel vision. While others are stressed from switching gears every hour, you're calm, consistent, and clear. You don't chase everything. You pursue one thing so deeply, it eventually chases you back. That's the power of staying locked in. You will lose relevance in the eyes of the distracted. That's okay. Tunnel vision costs popularity but builds legacy. While others try to be everywhere, you'll be remembered for doing one thing better than anyone else ever did. Mental clutter is the enemy of precision. That's why tunnel vision requires internal cleaning, letting go of old beliefs, unfinished plans, and unresolved guilt. You can't carry confusion into a focused future. Drop the weight and walk lighter. You need to romanticize the mission, not the distractions. Most people get addicted to hustle because it makes them feel busy. Tunnel vision doesn't chase busyness, it chases effectiveness. You're not here to look impressive, you're here to be unstoppable. It's easy to start with tunnel vision when life is calm. The real test is staying locked in during chaos. That's where few survive. But if you can hold your clarity through storms, your growth becomes exponential. You outlast the noise. You rise while others scatter. Every distraction you eliminate creates space for mastery. Tunnel vision isn't just about what you focus on, it's about what you're willing to cut. Say no more often. Disappoint the unaligned. It's the only way to stay loyal to your future. There is magic in monotony. Tunnel vision finds power in the repeat. While the world chases novelty, you refine excellence. The same action, done with increasing precision, becomes a weapon. That's how champions are made: repetition, not randomness. Create a system that supports your tunnel vision. Block time, automate decisions, reduce temptation. Don't rely on willpower alone. Build a world that supports your focus. Your environment should reflect your intentions, not distract from them. Tunnel vision thrives in solitude. Don't fear being alone with your goal. That's where breakthroughs happen. The absence of applause, opinions, and noise lets you hear the only voice that matters: your own. Let that voice grow louder than doubt. Remember, when you focus deeply on what matters, the world bends around your energy. Opportunities come, results compound, your presence becomes sharper. And without trying, you begin to lead not by volume, but by vibration. So stay in the tunnel, let the world scream, let trends pass. You've found something deeper: an obsession with mastery. That obsession is rare. Protect it. Because once you reach the end of that tunnel, what you'll see isn't just success, it's a version of yourself no one saw coming. Chapter 12. Stay focused until you're unstoppable. The ones who become unstoppable aren't the loudest or the flashiest, they're the most focused. They don't announce every move or chase every trend. They lock in, they grind. They stay invisible until the results are too loud to ignore. And by then, it's already too late for the world to catch up. Staying focused isn't a one-time choice, it's a daily war. A war against distractions, comfort, laziness, and doubt. Every morning you wake up, you choose whether to give your power to the noise or hold on to it with iron discipline. One choice at a time, you become unstoppable. You won't always feel like working. You won't always feel confident. But staying focused isn't about how you feel, it's about what you've decided. You've decided your dream is worth more than a temporary escape. You've decided to suffer now so you can dominate later. Unstoppable people aren't born, they're built. Brick by brick, habit by habit. They protect their focus like it's sacred. While the world is busy reacting, they're busy building. They don't waste time explaining. They stay silent, consistent, and obsessed with their mission. You don't rise by accident. You rise by sacrifice. Every time you say no to a distraction, you say yes to your evolution. Every time you ignore the chaos and double down on what matters, you move closer to the version of you that's feared, not pitied. Consistency is the hidden key. It's not sexy, it's not glamorous, but it's what separates the average from the elite. Focus turns into power when you show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's where most people fall off. You won't. Staying focused means starving the voices that want you to shrink. The voice of doubt, the voice of impatience, the voice that says, "It's taking too long." You silence them not with words, but with actions, with unrelenting progress, with discipline louder than fear. The longer you stay focused, the clearer your path becomes. At first, the road looks foggy, confusing, overwhelming, but with every step forward, the noise fades and the vision sharpens. That's how clarity is earned, not in thinking, but in doing. You will lose people on this journey. Not everyone is built for the focused path. Some want shortcuts, some want comfort. Let them go. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be legendary. And that requires silence, solitude, and steel-level discipline. There's a moment in the journey where it gets boring. routine, repetitive, that's when most people quit. But if you can push through that facif, you can stay focused when the excitement dies, that's when real transformation begins. The world celebrates overnight success, but it's a lie. Real success comes from long, lonely hours that no one applauds. It comes from being focused when no one is watching. That's what makes you unstoppable, the fact that you kept going when no one believed you. Every moment of focus you invest is energy added to your power. It compounds, it grows in silence, and one day it erupts. One day your name is everywhere, not because you chased fame, but because you focused on the work so relentlessly, the world had no choice but to notice. Don't get distracted by the speed of others. Your race is your own. Their success has nothing to do with your timeline. Stay focused on your mission, and you'll win not just because you're fast, but because you never stopped moving forward. The enemy of focus is the illusion of progress. Just because you're busy doesn't mean you're effective. Stay ruthless with your attention. Focus only on what brings results. Everything else is noise cleverly disguised to steal your greatness. To be unstoppable, you must become allergic to excuses. Excuses are comfort in disguise. They rob your time and shrink your vision. When you stay focused, you strip away the stories that keep you small. You step into the power of total responsibility. The most dangerous version of you is the one who's patient, focused, and consistent. Not emotional, not reactive, but deliberate, strategic, clear. That version of you doesn't chase revenge, it chases results. And it always gets them. Every time you finish what you start, your confidence grows. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your mind begins to trust you. That's how inner power is built, not through hype, but through habits. Focus is how you turn self-doubt into self-dominance. They won't understand why you don't hang out, why you don't reply fast, why you say no. Let them wonder. Focus isn't meant to be understood by the unfocused. You don't owe anyone explanations. You owe your future your attention. The more focused you become, the simpler life gets. You stop chasing everything. You choose one mission and give it everything you have. And in that simplicity you find peace. In that clarity you find power. And in that devotion you become unstoppable. So stay locked in, stay grounded, stay lethal. Let the world distract itself. Let them joke, scroll, compare, and quit. You just keep building. Because if you can stay focused long enough, the day will come when nothing and no one can break you. When your mind is locked in on something bigger than your distractions, you stop entertaining what doesn't grow you. You don't scroll to escape. You don't waste time in conversations that go nowhere. You become intentional with everything, your energy, your time, your attention, because you finally understand your focus is your life force. People will try to test your focus. They'll call you cold, distant, too serious. Don't flinch. Let them talk while you work. Let them relax while you rise. Staying focused often means being misunderstood, but you weren't born to fit in. You were built to break through. Every time you focus, you're teaching your mind who's in control. You're training it to obey discipline, not emotion. You're shaping it into a tool of power, not a victim of habit. And that kind of mind wins quietly, consistently, completely. You don't have time to prove anything to anyone. That energy is wasted. The only proof you need is your progress, your execution, your transformation. The more you focus on yourself, the less you care who's watching. That's real freedom. Stay away from people who drain your focus. The complainers, the distracted, the drama addicted. They don't mean to pull you off your path, but they will if you let them. Protect your circle like it's your sanctuary, because it is. The man who can stay focused in a distracted world is a rare force. He doesn't seek attention, he commands it through excellence. His results speak before he does. His silence isn't weakness, it's preparation. And his presence is felt, not explained. Your future is made in quiet hours, in the early mornings, in the late nights. While others sleep, scroll, and slack you sharpen. You grind. You move in darkness, so when the light finds you, you're already a new version of yourself, undeniable, unbreakable. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about showing up anyway, even when you're tired, even when you're doubting, even when no one claps. Because real warriors don't train for applause, they train for victory. And victory loves focus. You will have moments of doubt, days where you want to quit. That's normal. What separates the focused from the fallen is the ability to keep moving anyway, to breathe, reset, and attack again, because focus isn't the absence of struggle, it's your response to it. The world is designed to break your focus. Every app, every notification, every scroll, it's engineered to steal your edge. So you have to build armor. You have to build systems. You have to build boundaries so strong that nothing steals your greatness. Unstoppable focus is built on brutal honesty. You have to call yourself out. Catch yourself slipping. You don't sugarcoat. You don't justify. You correct in real time. Because the longer you stay unfocused, the longer you delay your destiny. You were not built to dabble. You were built to dominate. But domination only happens when focus becomes your lifestyle, not your mood. Don't wait for the perfect moment, build it through relentless consistency. Every step you take in focused alignment adds pressure to your purpose. One day, that pressure will explode into results so loud the world won't believe it. But you'll know. You'll know what it cost. You'll know what you gave up to become unshakable. There's a hunger inside you that distractions can't satisfy. It's not about dopamine, it's about destiny. You're not here to feel good, you're here to become great. And greatness doesn't come easy. It comes when you prioritize long-term vision over short-term pleasure. To stay focused is to rebel against the average. It's to look boredom in the face and keep going. It's to say, I will not be like them. While the world settles, you rise. And in that rebellion, you find your greatness. You're not supposed to fit in right now. You're in the building phase. This season requires solitude, sacrifice, and silence. Don't rush the results. Fall in love with the process. That's where the real transformation happens, away from the spotlight. Every distraction you eliminate makes you stronger. Every no you say to the world is a yes to your future. That's the trade, that's the price, and you must pay it daily. Focus isn't a switch, it's a muscle. And you're training it every moment you resist. You don't just want success, you want mastery. You want the kind of discipline that can't be shaken, the kind of confidence that's built through action, not talk. That only comes from staying focused longer than anyone else is willing to. Eventually, focus becomes who you are. It becomes your identity. You're no longer trying to stay locked in, you just are. You become the person who finishes what they start, who shows up, who's consistent. And that version of you is unstoppable. So keep going, no matter how slow, no matter how hard. Keep going, because the more you focus, the less anything else matters. One day, you'll look up and realize you didn't just stay focused. You became the storm. You weren't born to chase every noise. You were born to build a mind so centered, so grounded, that storms pass and you remain unmoved. If you've made it this far, then you already know. Your power doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing the right things with relentless focus. The world will always try to pull you in 1,000 directions, but your strength is in your silence, your clarity, your ability to lock in. So from this point forward, protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Cut out what weakens you, eliminate what drains you, and double down on what fuels your purpose. You've already started becoming unbreakable. Now stay that way. Your future is waiting, but only if you stay focused.